Alright guys, in my last video I demoed this web app that I made that uses Chatgpt to label scraped Reddit Wall Street Bets data as positive, negative, or neutral as far as how it speaks about a specific stock. The purpose of this bot is obviously to identify pump and dump opportunities. A lot of people had doubts as to whether Reddit could be actually used to generate a profitable return. I found the need to implement a backtesting feature into the app that'll test historical trading performance of a given strategy. So for those of you who haven't seen the app yet, let me just quickly go over how it works. After we do the backtest tutorial, I'll go over it again in full detail. So you have a list of tickers. The system scrapes the 1,000 most recent comments on Wall Street Bets, and it tries to identify new tickers that way, and it'll add tickers to the list automatically. So we're going to test UUUU, and we're going to see what the data that it charts to the screen is. So as you can see, recently, UUUU had a very high net positive sentiment of 152. And then there's a table over here that also charts how many days ago it was mentioned. So let's zoom in on the chart using this feature here. As you can see, the table changes size as you zoom in. So you can zoom in on the chart that way, and it also presents company financials. If you click a table column, it'll chart that table column. Over here we see the revenue growth is charted to the screen. So let's go back to the backtest feature. Basically, it lets you add conditions. Long conditions are the conditions in which the backtester will simulate buying the stock. So let's do net sentiment, which is positive sentiment minus negative sentiment. And let's set that to 10. So we want stocks that are slightly trending as far as social sentiment goes, what people say about the stock on Reddit. And then we also want companies with growing revenue. Okay. And then if you add a condition, but you realize that you don't need 3 separate conditions for the strategy, you can press delete to delete the condition. Now we'll add the short conditions. Net sentiment is less than negative 10. And then revenue growth is less than 0. And then over here we'll click backtest. And as you can see, there's a progress bar at the bottom that tells us how far into the backtest we are. Now this is kind of slow to update. It's already at 2%, 3%. Backtest is 3% complete. So I've already ran 2 backtests, and I wanted to show you them over here. This first backtest is the one we just ran. Net sentiment greater than 10 and revenue growth greater than 0. Buy stock. Short conditions are net sentiment less than negative 10, revenue growth less than 0. Short the stock in those conditions. And out of 8 trades that it made, 7 were winners. Only 1 was a loser, and that was the first trade. The returns table is down here. As you can see, it shows all the fundamentals and the sentiment data in the table. And then the progress bar turns green when the backtest is complete. So then the next backtest I wanted to show you is trading off just fundamentals. So the configuration Long conditions is net sentiment greater than 10. Short conditions is net sentiment less than negative 10. The returns were kind of iffy. It made a lot more trades, quite a few more trades, but the returns had a lot of drawdown. As you can see, the drawdown is actually greater than the total return. And then we can see the chart over here. Back test is 100% complete. So we'll go back to this. The back test is currently at 25%, but you've already seen this back test. So I'm going to go ahead and go over all the other features in the system. There's the ability to chart revenue, and you can see revenue is charted up here. We went over revenue growth, net income growth, liabilities, equity, earnings per share. All this can be charted, and this data can also be downloaded. The backtest results can be downloaded as well. It shows the last 9 years of fundamentals. It goes quite a bit back. Now, if you want to look at the actual comments about a stock ticker, you go to Dataset, and then you click a file. And as we can see, this one is rated as a positive sentiment. You can click Edit Sentiment to change how the data is charted to the screen. The last feature is the Edit Tickers list. You can actually add and remove tickers to the list. Okay, and then let's go back to the back test. Let's see what it's at. It's at 49%. Oh, it turned yellow because it went over 50%.